He was born in shame. He rose through war, and he reshaped an entire region of Africa. This is the story of Shaka Zulu, the warrior king who forged one of the continent's most powerful kingdoms. His name echoes through history, a symbol of military genius, brutal conquest, and the birth of a nation. But who was the man behind the legend? Shaka's story begins around 1787, not with a royal welcome, but with rejection. He was the son of Senzanga Kona, the chief of a small clan called the Zulu, and a woman named Nundi. Their union was considered improper, a violation of social norms. As a result, both mother and son were driven into exile. They became wanderers, outcasts moving from clan to clan, constantly facing humiliation, hunger, and the sting of being unwanted. This harsh childhood didn't break Shaka, it forged him. Every insult, every struggle, hardened his resolve and fueled a relentless ambition to prove his worth, to rise above the circumstances of his birth. He learned early that survival depended on strength, and he would spend his life pursuing it. As a young man, Shaka found his purpose in the military. He joined the army of Dingiswayo, the powerful and visionary leader of the Mfethwa Confederation. Here, Shaka wasn't just another soldier. He was a prodigy. His discipline was unmatched, his tactical mind was brilliant, and his courage on the battlefield was legendary. But he didn't just excel within the existing system, he revolutionized it. Traditional warfare in the region involved throwing long, light spears from a distance. Shaka saw this as inefficient. He introduced the ikwa, a short, broad-bladed stabbing spear, forcing his warriors into close. Brutal combat where retreat was not an option. He didn't stop there. He developed the famous buffalo horns formation, an ingenious tactic that allowed his army to encircle and crush its enemies. The main force, the chest, would engage the enemy head-on, while the horns would sweep around the flanks, trapping them completely. His training regimens were famously grueling, turning ordinary young men into a disciplined, lethal fighting force loyal only to him. Under Shaka's command, warfare became a science of destruction. When Shaka's estranged father, the Zulu chief, passed away, Dingiswayo saw an opportunity. Recognizing Shaka's immense talent and ambition, he backed Shaka's claim to lead the small Zulu clan. With the Mfethwa's might behind him, Shaka seized control. This was the moment his life's work truly began. He was no longer just a brilliant commander, he was a king, and he had a vision. He immediately began a campaign of aggressive expansion, using his revolutionary military tactics. He started absorbing neighboring clans, offering them a choice: join the Zulu nation or be destroyed. Many chose to join their warriors, integrated into Shaka's ever-growing army. Those who resisted were met with overwhelming force. Rival chiefs were conquered, alliances were forged through both diplomacy and intimidation, and within a few short years, the Zulu transformed from a minor, insignificant clan into a centralized, formidable empire that dominated the region. Shaka wasn't just conquering land, he was forging a new identity. a new nation, united by a shared military culture and allegiance to him. This rapid, violent expansion triggered a cataclysmic chain reaction across southern Africa known as the Mafeking, or the crushing. As the Zulu Empire grew, entire communities were shattered and displaced. Fleeing Shaka's unstoppable army, clans and tribes were forced into a desperate migration, creating waves of conflict that spread for hundreds of miles. This period of widespread chaos and warfare led to immense suffering, with estimates of over 1 million people losing their lives to war or starvation. But it also led to the creation of new states and new political identities. Leaders like Mzilikazi, one of Shaka's own commanders, broke away and forged his own kingdom far to the north, eventually founding the Ndebele nation. Others, like the Sotho people under King Moshoeshoe, gathered in mountain fortresses to defend themselves, laying the foundations for the modern nation of Lesotho. The Mafeking, sparked by Shaka's ambition, permanently redrew the political and ethnic map of southern Africa, with consequences that are still felt today. As his empire grew, so did Shaka's power. He ruled as an absolute monarch, a king whose word was law and whose authority was unquestionable. Loyalty was generously rewarded with cattle, land, and status. But disloyalty, or even the perception of it, was met with swift and brutal punishment. Shaka maintained order through a mixture of inspiration and terror. His kingdom was highly organized, with a powerful military at its core and a strict social hierarchy. However, the balance of his rule began to shift dramatically after the death of his mother Nandi in 1827. Shaka was devastated, and his grief spiraled into a terrifying madness. He imposed extreme and bizarre laws of mourning on the entire kingdom. He forbade the planting of crops and the use of milk for a full year. He ordered that any woman who became pregnant during this period be executed, along with her husband. Thousands of people who were deemed insufficiently mournful were put to death. The king, who had once inspired fierce loyalty, now ruled primarily through fear. His paranoia grew, and the foundations of his own power began to crumble from within. The terror and instability of Shaka's final year created an opportunity for his enemies. His closest enemies, as it turned out, were his own family. His two half-brothers, Dingan and Mailanjina, had watched his increasingly erratic behavior with a mixture of fear and ambition. They saw a kingdom on the brink of collapse, ruled by a tyrant who was destroying the very nation he had built. Conspiring with one of Shaka's trusted attendants, they planned their moment. In September 1828, they found it. They attacked Shaka in his royal kraal, stabbing him repeatedly. The great conqueror, the man who had defeated armies and built an empire, fell not on the battlefield, but to a betrayal from his own blood. His last words were supposedly a warning to his brothers that they would never rule the land in peace. Despite his violent end, Shaka's legacy was monumental. He left behind a powerful, centralized Zulu Kingdom that would remain a dominant force in the region for another 50 years. famously defeating a British army at the Battle of Isandlwana decades after his death. His military innovations, like the Ikwa spear and the buffalo horns formation, were adopted by his enemies and studied for generations. His name became a legend, a symbol of African strength and resistance, but also of brutal tyranny. He is remembered as both a nation builder and a destroyer, a military genius and a paranoid despot. His story is a complex tapestry of brilliance, ambition, and cruelty. Shaka Zulu remains one of history's most compelling and controversial figures. Was he a visionary leader who united a people and forged a nation from chaos? Or was he a brutal tyrant whose conquests brought untold suffering to millions? The truth is, he was both. His impact on Southern Africa is undeniable. He was a force of nature who rose from nothing, reshaped a continent, and left a legacy that continues to be debated, admired, and feared to this day. He changed history. Thanks for watching. If you found this story fascinating, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more deep dives into the lives of history's most impactful figures. See you next time.